When the millionaire mocked the delivery girl, an incredible truth was revealed that transformed her life forever. The sun hung low in the Seattle sky as Mia navigated her rickety delivery van through the winding streets of a bustling suburb. Every bump in the road jolted her dreams further away, and she felt the weight of each unpaid bill pressing against her heart. At 23, she was a delivery girl with aspirations that seemed swallowed by the daily grind, her only escape found in the doodles in her sketchbook that lay slipped beneath the passenger seat. Yet, they yearned for much more than just scraps of paper. As she pulled up to a sprawling mansion to deliver a package, Mia's hope twisted into unease. Greg Dalton, the wealthy entrepreneur, was known for his savage business tactics. She pictured him as she parked, the sharp lines of his suit and the cold gleam in his eyes. He was everything Mia despised about the elite, smug, privileged, unkind. She couldn't shake the feeling that today, she was about to meet the worst side of wealth, stealing herself. She took a deep breath, reminding herself to think of the future. College. Art school. A life where she wouldn't have to battle for each meal. But as Greg waltzed to the door, he barely glanced down at her worn backpack and ragged jeans before sneering dismissively, "Is this the best you can do?" The words cut into her like knives. They whispered of worthlessness, reinforcing every fear she fought against. The moment crumbled any composure she had. Confusion erupted inside her. Should she feel anger, shame, or determination? She clutched the package tighter. His laughter echoed in her mind as she drove away, each mile feeding her turmoil. This was not who she was, and in that moment of mockery, Mia resolved to prove it. That night, after a long day of deliveries, she sat alone in her small cramped room. Doubts circled. Should she even attempt to explore what lay deep within her, a hidden talent for digital art that scurried away whenever she thought to pursue it? But Greg's words replayed like a broken record, igniting a fire within her. It was time. She dove into her artwork, channeling discarded emotions and moments of beauty from everyday encounters into vibrant designs. She shared her creations online, never expecting to gain a following, yet art became her lifeline. It spoke of struggle and hope and began to resonate with others living similar lives. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but soon, her unexpected success caught Greg's eye. A chance meeting turned their adversarial dynamic into an ecosystem of misunderstanding, confusion, and new challenges. Greg was watching as his businesses floundered, his once solid reputation starting to crack. Mia's art showcased a world he never understood, her work demanding both his attention and confrontation with the biases that had defined him. As the showcase approached, Mia's heart raced with anticipation and anxiety. Each artwork was laced with fragments of pain and stories that clawed their way out. She trembled at the thought of Greg's presence. His prior mockery would now be juxtaposed with a splash of wild colors and raw truth. In the dimming light of the upcoming exhibition, Mia found herself facing the question: would this moment redefine them both? Would they shed the weights of their labels as their eyes met across the gallery? The tension thickened as Mia prepared to unleash her journey of self-worth against the backdrop of his newly rattled confidence, but uncertainty loomed over both of them like a storm on the horizon. Mia's life forever. The night before the showcase, the dim light of her bedroom cast shadows that danced across the walls like her racing thoughts. She arranged her canvases, each piece a vivid expression of her journey from obscurity to revelation. The images portrayed strength, vulnerability, chaos, and hope, a reflection of the many emotions she had bottled up throughout her life. They did not merely represent her skills but also the essence of who she had become. The hours spent absorbing hurtful words had transformed into strokes of color and meaning, but as she stared at the collection, an unsettling doubt crept in. What if Greg was right? The harsh laughter he had unleashed still resonated in her ears, gnawing at her self-esteem. Her hands trembled as she brushed them over one of her favorite pieces, a chaotic swirl of colors that mirrored her spirit. Would people see the beauty, or would they perceive it merely as disarray? Determined not to falter, she decided to reach out to her growing online community. Their comments, supportive and heartfelt, bolstered her resolve. "Your art speaks to me," one user had written. "You have a gift." In that moment, Mia felt a flicker of what she longed for: validation, appreciation, the acknowledgement of her worth beyond her past as a delivery girl. She prepared a post, pouring her excitement and fears into words. There was no turning back now. This was her chance to articulate who she was. The day of the showcase arrived with skies painted in shades of gray, mirroring her nervous anticipation. As she stepped into the gallery, the scent of polished wood and freshly hung artwork enveloped her. She hung back for a moment, observing the crowd move through the space like fluid shadows. Their faces were a blend of excitement and introspection, and for the first time, she felt herself to be part of something larger than her previous existence. Then, she spotted Greg across the room. He stood surrounded by admirers, the aura of confidence he usually exuded leaching away as he scanned the artwork. She knew he would eventually make his way to her pieces, and the thought made her stomach churn. Would he dismiss her efforts again, or could he see the heart she had bared on the canvas? Mia clenched her fists as she approached her most significant piece, the one that depicted her battle between despair and determination. As he walked nearer, time slowed. The air felt thick with tension, and she could hardly breathe. She forced herself to remember her intention. This wasn't just about winning his respect, it was also about claiming her place and asserting her identity as an artist. "Interesting work," he remarked, a hint of condescension still lingering in his voice, yet softer than the sneer he'd worn before. "Interesting? Or, what you expected," she countered, surprising herself with the bite in her tone. His eyes narrowed slightly, stepping into the space between them, and in that moment, a spark ignited her defiance. Perhaps he didn't know the depth of her struggles or the extent of her transformation. The need to confront him had always been there, buried beneath layers of self-doubt. "I've faced worse adversity than framed critics. My art is a testament to that," she declared, her voice steady, surprising even herself. For the first time, she saw a flicker of unease cross his face. It was as if he was looking into a mirror reflecting parts of himself he had buried beneath success and privilege. Suddenly, she understood, perhaps all along, the mockery had come from a place of fear of vulnerability and authenticity. Before she could collect her thoughts about the confrontation, Greg turned slightly, his gaze lingering on her art, then abruptly shifting back to her. "You think I can't understand this?" The exchange hung in the air, heavy with unspoken challenges. The moment resonated with possibilities, and all around them felt charged. In that uncertainty, Mia realized she was no longer simply defined by the sneer of the millionaire. She was the arbiter of her journey, ready to unravel a new layer of conflict. And as they stood amidst her creations, both artist and critic on unsteady ground, she felt the stirrings of a reckoning. Her next move depended on the revelation of truths hidden under gilded facades. With her heart pounding, she leaned in closer. The time had come to face the shadows of their history. Would she dare to dig deeper into the motivations behind Greg's scorn, confronting both their claims to authenticity? The tension between them was electric, a silent tug-of-war that threatened to unravel the facade Greg had built around himself. Mia's heart thudded against her ribcage, each beat a reminder of the stakes. This wasn't just about her art, it represented her existence, her evolution from mere shadows of self-doubt to vibrant, unapologetic authenticity. "Understanding doesn't come from simple critique, Greg," she ventured, surprising herself with the fierce conviction in her voice. She could feel the warmth of the gallery's lights flooding her face, and her pulse quickened as she let the challenge hang between them. "It's about recognizing the struggle, the fight that goes into every single piece." Greg shifted uncomfortably, feigning nonchalance, but Mia saw the twitch at the corner of his mouth, the fleeting flash of something more vulnerable buried in his eyes. The moment she dared to challenge him, she perceived a man grappling with the same insecurity she had fought against for years. House of Cards, built upon a display of grandeur, could crumble if exposed to the light of reality. "If you think this is just a competition, you're sorely mistaken," she continued, her confidence snowballing as she spoke. "This," she gestured to the walls surrounding them, "is about connections, emotions. My work reaches into the depths of everything I've weathered. It's my truth." "Your truth," he echoed, a hint of disdain merging with intrigue. His posture seemed to waver, flicking between arrogance and genuine curiosity. "But what if that truth isn't marketable? In that instant, Mia felt something shift within her, a realization that ignited her resolve. How many times had she worried about being accepted, about being validated by others? No longer would she allow someone like him or anyone to define her self-worth. Marketable? She spat, daring to step closer, voice low but strong. Is that all art is to you, a way to sell yourself? My journey isn't businesses in dollars, it's surviving every day, channeling despair into creation. His brow furrowed, a faint glimmer of respect breaking through the layers of his polished exterior. You really think you've done the hard work? You think you're ready to face the industry? A laugh escaped her lips, the sound stark against the hushed backdrop of whispers and murmurs from the crowd. I'm not at the mercy of the industry. It had me for long enough. This time, the tremor in her voice was lost to fierce determination. I'm here to define my own market. You're in my gallery, Greg, you're witnessing my autonomy. As confusion swept across his face, Mia caught a glimpse of unfamiliar territory, not just her art but a burgeoning sense of control over her narrative. This was no longer just a showcase, it was a stage where the old Mia had transformed into someone unyielding. I'm not asking for your approval. I'm living my truth, and that's infinitely more powerful than your fleeting opinions. She felt the swift pulse of liberated defiance surge through her. His presence, once intimidating, began to feel inconsequential. Suddenly, she spotted some onlookers nearby, nodding in agreement, enthralled by the fiery interaction that held them rapt. Mia's conviction deepened. She was no longer simply speaking to Greg. She was sharing her story, affecting those around her. Yet, just as she began to bask in this moment of victory, Greg's expression shifted again. This isn't just about you, Mia. Sometimes, we mask our pain with bravado to avoid dealing with the real issues. The bluntness of his words struck a nerve. What did he truly know about her struggles? You don't understand, she replied, feeling a quiver of vulnerability ripple through her again. You've never lived on the margin, misunderstanding or overshadowed. He held her gaze, a palpable silence enveloping them, and for the first time, Mia saw the hint of respect again. Would he share something deeper, or would he retreat behind the walls he had constructed so carefully? Mia knew she had opened up a chasm of possibilities, one that could either dissolve their entangled histories or force it into a confrontation that would ring true. The challenge she faced was more than just art or opinions, it was the chance to unearth layers of truth that could either liberate her or bind her further into doubt. As tensions escalated, Mia realized something crucial: she was no longer afraid of Greg's scorn nor dependent on his validation. She had the power to steer this exchange. Leaning forward, she questioned, So, what part of me are you truly afraid of? The weight of her question hung thick in the air, leaving anticipation crackling around them, as if an impending storm had finally arrived. Would Greg confront his fears, or would he flee into the comfort of complacency? Mia's heart raced as the charged silence stretched between them. The gallery buzzed with whispers, but her world narrowed to the tangle of thoughts swirling in her mind. She had dared to pull a thread from the fabric of Greg's carefully constructed persona, and she didn't know whether the unraveling would leave her victorious or vulnerable. Afraid? He finally responded, a smirk brushing across his lips. You overestimate your impact, Mia. I'm more concerned about maintaining a brand than indulging in your theatrics. His dismissal was a slap, one that reignited her anger. How could he reduce her struggle, her passion, to mere theatrics? Yet within that anger simmered clarity. This wasn't merely an argument over art, it was a confrontation with a man who exemplified everything she had pushed against, a legacy of oppression camouflaged as sophistication. That brand of yours is built on hollow ambitions, Greg. The words slipped through her clenched teeth, igniting a spark in her own chest. I'm tired of playing the role of a transparent artist in your world, where authenticity is only valuable if it aligns with your metrics. The murmur of the crowd intensified, drawing attention to their heated exchange. In that moment, Mia recognized the significance of her stance. She was no longer just a participant in someone else's narrative, she was carving her own path, unapologetically asserting her beliefs. Greg's expression momentarily faltered, a flicker of genuine unease washing over him. It was a small victory, yet it fueled her determination further. What had she shied away from in the past? The fear of rejection? Of judgment? She was shattering these chains now, one bold utterance at a time. People are interested in stories, not just products, Greg. My art tells a story born from pain and resilience. When I pour my heart into each stroke, I peel back a layer of myself, something I doubt you've ever done. His brow furrowed deeper, and for just an instant, she glimpsed a vulnerability that matched her own. The moment was fragile. Could she exploit this intersection of authenticity to assert her narrative further? Do you think your truth will open doors for you? His tone had softened, now laced with curiosity rather than mockery. What if no one cares to see it? It doesn't matter, Mia shot back, confidence swelling like a tide. Whether doors open or not isn't what defines me. I'm not seeking validation, I'm chasing fulfillment. My journey is mine, and I can't surrender that to your world of commerce and status. The weight of her words hung heavy between them, and for an excruciating moment, Greg searched her face as if trying to decipher a code. Was she truly as fearless as she appeared? The gallery swirled around them, the ambient sounds diminishing as she focused on the conversation, the pulse of her heart a reminder that she was exactly where she needed to be. Behind the challenge in Greg's eyes lay a question she had quietly asked herself. Was she really capable of stepping into her authentic self, unconditionally and without reservation? You don't think I've faced my struggles, do you? His voice lowered, almost conspiratorial. Everyone has pain, but admitting it, embracing it is the true challenge. A shiver ran down Mia's spine, and she recognized a shared vulnerability that had her reconsidering everything she thought she knew about him. Perhaps there was a bridge, a way to navigate this labyrinth of egos by confronting the truths they both stowed away. Maybe you're right, Greg. Maybe I don't know the depths of your pain. But I can see that facade you've built. Maybe if you took a risk and let that wall down, you'd find there's more art to be offered in life than just what's marketable. There it was, an invitation disguised as a challenge. As she spoke, the audacity of her suggestion filled the air with electricity. They stood amid the flickering lights and curious onlookers, both standing on the thin edge of transformation. I can see a glimpse of the artist in you too, she softened, inviting him into the shared space of vulnerability. What if you start painting your own truth? He looked momentarily taken aback, confusion churning in his eyes as if the idea had never crossed his mind. Would he resist or embrace it? As Greg's expression morphed into something contemplative, Mia could feel the ground shifting beneath them. One step away from an epiphany, or one step closer to another defensive barrier? What would he choose? The moment lingered, thick with potential, as she awaited his next move, each heartbeat carrying the weight of their intertwined fates. Mia's heart thudded against her ribcage as the air between them crackled with tension. She had laid bare a facet of herself, and now she waited, vulnerable yet resolute, for Greg's response. It was a risk, one she had taken deliberately, her instincts propelling her toward uncharted territory. Greg shifted slightly, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. What if I don't want to paint my truth? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. What if my facade is all I have? The question hung above them, heavy with the weight of its implications. Mia understood all too well the instinct to cling to pretenses. The years spent altering herself to fit into molds that didn't honor her true self churned within her like an old wound. It was a darkness she wished to illuminate, not just for herself, but for others tethered in the same shadows. Then you're trapping yourself, she replied, her voice thoughtful yet firm. Each brushstroke inauthentic robs you of deeper connection, not just with others but with yourself. You say you care about your brand, what if it could reflect your genuine journey? Greg's expression hardened, eyes narrowing. Are you telling me to abandon my success? Sacrifice everything I've built? Not abandon, reshape it. The intensity in her gaze met his, a blend of challenge and empathy. You can hold on to your name while allowing it to be a vessel for something real. Reconnect with your art. Explore who you might be beyond the persona. His frustration pulsed through the air, a palpable thing. Yet, through that anger simmered a flicker of curiosity. Perhaps he had never been pushed to consider the cracks in his carefully constructed facade. It was distressing yet liberating. Mia shifted her perspective, challenging herself to see beyond the defensiveness.
Is success worth the cost if you don't recognize the artist behind it?
The words echoed through the gallery, and in their shared silence, there existed an unmistakable recognition. The question wasn't just about Greg's artistic journey, it resonated within Mia as well. What lingering shadows had she carried? The thought clawed at her insides. Was she not in a similar battle against the pressures of a world that valued commodification over truth? She had fought to empower her artistic voice, yet had often faltered when it came to embracing herself without equivocation. Art isn't meant to be a transaction, she pressed on, her voice softer now, yet imbued with resolve. It should be an invitation, a dialogue. But to create dialogue, you must be willing to listen to your own voice first. Greg's defenses appeared to fracture under the heaviness of her perspective. The frown that had shadowed his brow relaxed ever so slightly, revealing a weary truth she had not anticipated. It wasn't merely the art world he clung to, it was a narrative that confined him, feeding into his meticulous exterior. What if I fail? The question was raw, stripped of pride. Then you fail beautifully, she replied, a small smile breaking through the intensity of the moment. Every artist has experienced the bitter bite of rejection, but it is in that failure where the real growth occurs. Maybe it's time to embrace the mistakes and learn from them. His features softened as the realization hit him, not like an epiphany but more a cautious unveiling of potential he had kept hidden. The risk of stepping away from his own comfort zone loomed before them both. What if digging deeper exposes more than I wanted? He mused, almost to himself. Then you adjust, Mia said, a surprising conviction fueling her words. We all carry our truths with us. Your journey can liberate you, not just as an artist but as a person. And you may find a purpose in that authenticity that exceeds anything you've defined as success. A moment of revelation glimmered in Greg's eyes. Would he engage with his own authenticity, exposing himself as she had? It was a leap of faith, one that could alter the trajectory of their lives. The energy around them shifted as she offered, you don't have to decide now. Just promise you'll think about it. Silence enveloped them, both lost in their thoughts. Mia was aware that this conversation had transformed something fundamental, both within her and possibly in Greg as well. The gallery bustle receded further, encapsulating them in a cocoon of introspection, yet, just when she believed they had reached some consensus, Greg's tone turned unexpectedly sharp. And what of your truth, Mia? Are you ready to strip away the parts of you that cling to comfort? The starkness of his question caught her off guard, a mirror reflecting her own hesitations. Was she prepared to take the steps she urged him to consider? Doubts surfaced, mingling with sparks of courage. In that moment, both were left standing on a precipice. A choice lay ahead, one that would test their wills and redefine the concept of achievement itself. As the question echoed in her mind, what would her answer be? Would she delve into her own depths or retreat into complacency? The starkness of the path she faced was daunting, yet exhilarating. And just as they tore through the fragile layer of pretense, Mia sensed the undeniable shift in their dynamic. What would happen next? The air thick with the promise of transformation, they stood in anticipation, ready to explore the uncharted territory of their own truths together. Mia felt the weight of Greg's question settle in her chest like a stone. The noises of the gallery dissolved into silence, the brush of paint against canvas fading into the background. She stood at a crossroads, where her own truths were intertwined with the expectations she had crafted over the years. Could she summon the same courage she demanded of Greg? Maybe I've been avoiding my own truth, she admitted, her gaze dropping to the polished floor. I've painted the picture of my life in others' colors, trying to fit in. It was a tremor of recognition, an awakening of something long suppressed within her. Greg shifted, the tension between them pulsating like a living entity. What are you so afraid to expose? He pressed, curiosity mingling with genuine concern. She swiped a hand through her hair, frustration rising at the barriers she had erected for herself. I fear that what lies beneath isn't worthy of attention. What if the real Mia isn't interesting? What if you don't really believe that? Greg interjected, determination flashing in his eyes. You've already shared so much tonight. Why backtrack? You've taken a leap, Mia. His words ignited a spark. She was standing on the edge of something profound, the kind of transformation that could redefine everything she believed about herself.
It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once.
Perhaps this was not simply about helping him confront his facade, it was about dismantling her own. She closed her eyes momentarily, breathing deeply, trying to navigate through the tumult of self-doubt.
What if they don't get my art? Or, she hesitated, what if I don't even know who I am beyond it?
Then you find out, he replied, voice steady and sure. Every artist has layers beyond their creations. Unfiltered honesty can lead to something astonishing.
You have the toolset, Mia. You just need your heart behind it.
Mia felt the stirrings of resolve vying for dominance, yet the past clung to her like a heavy cloak.
Why was it easier for her to encourage Greg to embrace vulnerability while she hesitated?
Unpacking her own layers meant opening a door to pain, failure, and rejection, yet without doing so, she risked stifling her growth entirely.
You inspire me, she confessed, vulnerability seeping into her voice. I admire your passion and has made me question my own courage.
Each time I paint, I try to capture emotion, yet I hold so much back. Maybe my fear of abandonment has manifested into a reluctance to share my true self.
All wrapped up in this facade of a successful artist.
The vulnerability in her voice cut through the tension.
Greg's expression softened, and he stepped closer. What is so scary about being abandoned?
Mia bit her lip, considering the question carefully.
The answer came unbidden, a wave of warmth washing over her.
Because it makes me feel insignificant, she said, barely audible.
And if I'm not significant, if my story isn't worth telling, then what am I?
The moment hung between them, both exposed yet bound by a shared understanding of their own fragile artistry. Beneath their paintbrushes and personas lay something authentic, their raw, unresolved quests for acceptance.
Your art means something, Mia.
So much more than just the canvas, Greg whispered, eyes searching hers.
You have stories inside you that others can learn from. Don't deny them.
Taking a step back, she nodded slowly. His unwavering faith ignited something within her, casting aside layers of doubt. Maybe it's time for me to finally peel back those layers, she mused. Explore my truth, put it all on the canvas.
As if sensing her shift, Greg's face brightened, a flicker of excitement illuminating his features. What if we both worked on our truths together? What if we shared our journey as artists, revealing not just the beauty but the struggles too?
The idea hung pregnant in the air, their partnership a potential beacon for both their journeys.
Was it possible they could act as reflections for one another?
The notion sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. Yes, she breathed, solidifying her own commitment
to the venture.
But it means being ready for discomfort and possibly rejection. His smirk, a mix of playful defiance and determination, ignited a flutter of hope within her.
I'm all in if you are.
In that moment, a surge of possibility rippled between them, a shared understanding that the exploration of their hidden truths could unveil something vibrant, artistic, and deeply human.
Mia felt an exhilarating spark of determination.
Perhaps they would emerge as artists not just of their craft, but as architects of their own truths, free from the confines of expectation.
What awaited them on this unmarked path?
The promise of vulnerability loomed ahead, a challenge she felt almost ready to embrace. But before she could articulate her intention, a voice broke through the simmering atmosphere, puncturing the air of possibility.
Is that what you two are discussing? Good luck with that.
The scorn dripped from the statement, a voice tinged with derision that jarred the intimate moment, and as Mia turned toward the unexpected intruder, a sense of foreboding mixed with resolve filled her.
Would their emerging commitment withstand the judgment of others? What lay ahead now felt more intimidating than ever.
The tension in her gut deepened. The battle for authenticity had only just begun. Mia's heart raced as she turned to face the intruder. The swirls of doubt dangled menacingly in her mind, accompanied by an unpredictable mix of irritation and fear. The familiar voice belonged to Laura, a fellow artist known for her snide remarks and grandstanding critiques, especially when it came to those perceived as beneath her artistic caliber.
Seriously, Mia?
Laura continued, crossing her arms and surveying them with thinly veiled disdain.
You really think you can just unravel your emotional chaos and call it art? Authenticity doesn't come with such convenience. The barb hit hard. The layers of resolve she'd felt minutes before thinned in the presence of her rival. For a fleeting moment, Mia teetered on the edge of self-doubt, but Greg's unwavering gaze anchored her. She remembered his encouragement, the flicker of understanding they had kindled between them. "Mia and I are ready to face our truths," Greg responded, stepping forward protectively, his presence a shield. "That takes courage a lot more than hiding behind pretentious criticisms." Mia admired his bravery, but her own voice quivered as she spoke. "I don't expect you to understand, Laura. Perhaps if you allowed yourself to be vulnerable, you would see the potential in authenticity." Laura chuckled, a short, mocking sound that felt like salt in an open wound. "Vulnerable? That's rich. Do you think anyone cares about your struggles? They want to see the glamorous version of life, the polished result, not some half-baked emotional therapy." Each word became a chain, binding Mia in place as old insecurities resurfaced. What if Laura was right? What if all this exploration only led to vulnerability and no appreciation? The question lingered, gnawing at her, yet there was something stirring within her, a fire igniting despite the overwhelming pressure of judgment. The time for hiding behind a facade was running short, and the momentum to shift her narrative was only gathering force. "Art thrives on honesty, not on the perfection of the canvas," she countered with newfound intensity, her voice gaining strength with each word. "If my art doesn't echo my truth, then what is the point?" Laura scoffed, albeit with a hint of uncertainty threading through her derision. Perhaps uncertainty wasn't something she enjoyed grappling with, perhaps it was for others to face. But Mia sensed that this moment was more than an exchange, it was a transformation in progress. "Mia's right," Greg interjected, seizing the momentum. "Art is meant to be a reflection and exploration of both beauty and struggle. It's what makes it real." As the tension surged between them, Mia felt buoyed by the support emanating from Greg. They were not alone on this path, their commitment ignited a reciprocity of trust. In that split second, confidence surged through her veins, pushing back against Laura's contempt. Mia clenched her jaw, pinpointing her next move. Instead of yielding, she would confront the very fears that had intertwined with her identity. This interaction offered a choice: either fade into the shadows or step into the light of her truth, regardless of the reactions from others. "I invite you to take a closer look at my work, Laura," Mia said, plasticity replacing her earlier reticence. "But it'll require you to step outside your own insecurities. The only thing holding you back is the belief that you should feel superior. Perhaps there's more to learn from vulnerability than you realize." With that, she turned her back on Laura, ushering in a newfound clarity. Each step away pulsed with the knowledge that reframing her identity didn't depend on approval. They could shed their facades, together, as Greg had suggested. Affirmations were external, but the true transformation was internal. Mia glanced at Greg, a sense of solidarity knitting them closer. "We create out of truth. It's a journey worth taking." But as they began to move away, the echo of Laura's scorn twisted into her thoughts, a lingering shadow that warned of the battle ahead. Would they truly unravel their depths, even when it meant facing hostility? Could the companionship they found hold firm, or would judgment threaten to tear it apart? With the weight of those questions surfacing, Mia felt the stirring of something profound. The artistic and personal crossroads they stood upon were rife with the unknown. Would they embrace the tumult ahead, confidently shoulder the resistance, or withdraw in the face of adversity? One thing was clear: the intricacies of truth would unfold slowly, and the journey had only just begun. Mia and Greg walked side by side, their pace quickening as they distanced themselves from Laura. The air felt charged with the weight of affirmation and doubt, the duality of their emotions swirling around them like a thunderstorm. As they navigated the winding paths of the park, Mia's mind buzzed with questions she couldn't shake. Could she maintain her resolve against such acerbic criticism? What tangible steps could they take to transform their vision into something that resonated with both themselves and the outside world? She felt the fear creeping back in, an insistent whisper that caused her confidence to waver, but there was also something else, an ember of defiance burning brightly within. "Mia," Greg's voice cut through her thoughts, grounding her. "I know that was hard, but you stood your ground. I'm proud of you.
His eyes held an earnestness that sparked a flicker of courage inside her.
Thanks, but did you see her? What if she is right? Mia asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty.
Greg stopped, turning to face her, his expression serious.
She isn't. Art is about more than just surface appeal. It's about the struggle, the authenticity you talked about. It's what people resonate with. Your work will speak if you let it.
His words hung in the cool air, a challenge and a comfort all at once. They bolstered her resolve, but the doubt still lurked behind the bravado. They found a small bench, and as they sat down, their conversation shifted towards the logistics of their art, studio time, refining concepts, and communicating truths in their pieces. Mia pulled a sketchbook from her bag, the pages heavy with half-formed ideas and raw emotion. The unsettling premonition of judgment hung over her as she opened it, flipping through the pages with Greg leaning in, curious.
"What is this one about?"
he asked, pointing to a piece that showcased a tangle of intertwining figures, faces obscured but emotions palpable.
"It's about identity," Mia answered, her voice steadier than she felt.
"How we mask ourselves, even from those we trust.
The layers we build, thinking they'll protect us, but they often trap us instead."
Greg studied the drawing, his brow furrowing as he absorbed her intent.
"It's powerful. You can feel the tension, the struggle. You're not trying to prettify the pain, you're inviting the viewer in. This is the direction you need to go."
Mia regarded him, the fear in her heart giving way to an ember of inspiration.
"I want to capture the experiences we hide away. To expose the parts we try to gloss over, even the ugly truths."
As she spoke, the realization settled within her. She wanted her art to inspire vulnerability, to act as a catalyst for conversations about raw truths. The fear that had once clouded her vision dissolved, revealing a path forward. With a fresh sense of purpose, she scribbled notes in the margins of her sketchbook, ideas igniting with fervor. Greg's enthusiasm fueled her creativity, their growing synergy reaffirming the potential of this artistic journey.
But a new thought nagged at Mia: how would the art world, often steeped in elitism and superficiality, react to such raw honesty? Would they reject her for not conforming, for not fitting into the mold? Would Laura's critique echo in the corners of their minds, suffocating their progress?
"Mia," Greg's voice was gentle yet firm, pulling her from her thoughts. "We need to showcase these concepts, challenge the norms. Growth comes from discomfort. It might just rattle some cages."
"But what if we fail?"
she whispered, the vulnerability revealing itself even as she strove for strength.
"Then we try again."
"Art is not about perfection, it's about expression," he replied, conviction driving his words. His unwavering belief in the importance of resilience stirred something vital within her. The fear of failure still loomed large, but with it came the promise of growth and discovery. "Mia, we need to prepare for the next showcase," he urged, that glimmer of brilliance in his eyes.
"Let us make them see us."
The spark of anticipation ignited more questions within her mind.
Who would they encounter along the way? What challenges lurked just around the corner?
The journey ahead shimmered with undefined potential, pulsing with the unknown. For the first time, the weight of fear transformed into a thrilling sense of adventure. Mia grinned at Greg, feeling lighter, filled with a budding courage that beckoned her to confront the forthcoming trials. The time had come to face the truth. She paused, a flash of determination igniting her.
That flicker would become a flame, disrupting the dark.
But that moment of clarity also ushered in a raw realization: the artistic path was fraught with peril. As they gathered their things to leave, her heart raced in anticipation of the battles ahead, the struggles, the rejections, and perhaps, the triumphs yet to come. What remained to be seen was if they could truly birth art born from truth, or if the looming specter of judgment would stifle their creativity before it even took flight. Mia spent the next few days consumed by a whirlwind of unrefined ideas and fractured concepts, a desperate attempt to solidify her vision amidst the uncertainty that gnawed at her. Each morning, she slipped into her makeshift studio, a tiny room lined with canvases and scattered sketches that bore both her angst and her aspirations. The familiar smell of paint and turpentine wrapped around her, offering a sense of comfort tinged with anxiety. The weight of Laura's critique loomed over her like a dark cloud, mocking her attempts at creativity. But instead of succumbing to that weight, she began to carve her defiance into her work.
It was an unsettling process. Every brushstroke felt like a confrontation, a reclamation of her identity as an artist.
Each night she left the studio with paint-stained clothes and a mind racing with doubts, yet exhilarated by the struggle. One evening, Greg dropped by with a stack of art magazines clutched in his hands. "Look at this," he said with an eagerness that caught her attention as he spread them across her cluttered table. The glossy pages glimmered with images of celebrated artists, their works vibrant and commanding. But what tugged at Mia's gut was an article outlining how many of these artists had faced fierce opposition in the beginning: critics who derided their visions, buyers who sought only the familiar.
See? They all were doubted.
But look where they are now. Greg pointed at the images, excitement radiating from him.
Mia skimmed the bold headlines, a storm of thoughts brewing within her. But they eventually conformed to the market.
They modified their truths to be accepted.
Or they found a way to push through.
"The key is enduring the rejection and staying true to your voice," he replied, leaning closer, encouraging her exploration.
Is it possible to shout into the void? To harness that rawness in a world that craves conformity? Mia's voice trembled, the vulnerability creeping back in.
"Only if you dare to be uncomfortable." Those words struck her like a revelation. The dissonance between her fear and her determination was palpable, a tension she could mold into the essence of her art. Mia started to work with renewed vigor, sketching frantically, each line an exercise in defiance against conformity. As she populated blank canvases with chaotic forms, she felt a catharsis unfold. The process was messy and riddled with mistakes, yet each misstep transformed into a whisper of truth. There was solace in the absurdity of her choices. The pieces began to capture the essence of human experience in its rawest form. Weeks passed, each day melding into the next, until she had a collection bordering on completion. Yet as the final details took shape, an undeniable tension gripped her. The shadows of judgment loomed larger than life, taunting her with memories of Laura's derision. What if this artistic endeavor became another example of naive ambition crashing against the bitter wall of reality? On the brink of unveiling her work to others for the first time, doubt clouded Mia's resolve. Greg sensed the shift, steering their conversations towards strategies for confidence in showcase presentations. They discussed how to articulate their artistic intentions without drowning under the weight of perceived critique. "What if we take a risk?" he suggested one afternoon, his brows knitted with thought. "Instead of explaining the pieces outright, let the viewers discover meaning in their own reflections." "That means we lean into vulnerability," Mia mused, the implications settling in her mind. "Yes. We embody the discomfort. This is the moment where we confront the old narratives that say art must fit a mold." The prospect stirred another wave of apprehension. Would they be able to incite conversation, to spark discomfort, without spiraling into chaos? Yet, beneath the fear, the ember of courage flickered once more. As they prepared for the reveal, a resolve blossomed in her chest. Maybe art wasn't solely about acceptance, maybe it was about challenging perspectives and forcing in an uncomfortable dialogue. The need for validation wrestling against the desire for authenticity created an electrifying impetus, urging Mia to lean into the chaos she had crafted. The night approached, and Mia stood before her array of artworks, heart pounding as they called for recognition. With each passing moment, the fear of judgment felt increasingly insignificant compared to the excitement of embracing their truths. But what awaited them on the other side of their revelation? Would acceptance greet them, or would they face a torrential rebuttal that crushed their newfound spirit? As the door opened and their first guests began to arrive, Mia took a deep breath, feeling both raw and resolute. The moment of truth was about to unfold. The gallery buzzed with anticipation as vibrant colors filled the room around Mia. Each piece of art, a manifestation of her journey, stood proudly on display, defiant against the shadows of doubt. She felt the tremor of excitement mixed with anxiety stir within her, a palpable energy coursing through the air as guests filtered through the exhibition space. This was her moment of unveiling, and she was scared yet exhilarated. As she moved from painting to painting, she watched the expressions of those who stopped to gaze. Their faces flickered with curiosity, contemplation, and even recognition. "My truth," she whispered to herself, marveling at the quiet power inherent in vulnerability. Each brushstroke spoke volumes. It carried her pain, her struggle, and ultimately, her triumph. She understood now that it was not about the glittering acceptance of the art world but about connecting authentically with others. Then she spotted Greg, his presence hanging at the edge of the crowd. The once skeptical millionaire now looked at her work with respect, a tangible shift in perspective. As he approached her, Mia felt a swell of joy, infused with undeniable pride. They had navigated this journey together, pushing each other beyond the limits of their preconceived notions. "Your pieces are stunning," he said, with sincerity. "Each one paints a story that demands attention." There was a newfound depth in his voice, the acknowledgement not just of her artistry but of the shared struggles behind them. She beamed, the warmth of recognition sweeping through her. "Thank you, Greg. I realized that art is about navigating our truths, no matter how uncomfortable they may feel." At that moment, Mia was no longer the wary girl weighed down by self-doubt but a confident artist, grounded in her identity and purpose. This transformation, this growth, had come from facing challenges head-on. She had reclaimed her narrative. In a corner of the gallery, she noticed a small group of visitors intensely engaged in conversation about her work. Leaning in, they dissected the layers of emotion depicted on the canvases, revealing interpretations that transcended her original messages. A flicker of electricity coursed through her. It had finally happened. Her art had sparked dialogue. Then, an unexpected voice pierced through the clamor. "You think your story is special? Everyone has struggles." It was Laura again, her tone dripping with disdain, but this time, Mia felt unfazed. She turned to her former rival, and instead of anger, she felt compassion swell within her. "Everyone has a story, and they deserve to be told," Mia countered, her assertiveness cutting through Laura's scorn. "The difference is that I chose to share mine openly. It's okay if you don't resonate with it." A ripple of surprise washed over the nearby attendees as they appreciated Mia's grounded confidence. This was no longer an argument but an affirmation of her liberation from competing narratives. As the crowd continued to discuss her work, a realization settled in her heart. This was the catalyst she had always sought. By embracing her vulnerability, she had transformed not only her own journey but had also reached out to others navigating their own struggles. She caught Greg's eye, and in that instant of understanding, she knew they both had forged new paths enriched by their dialogues about authenticity. They had stepped into a world where they were no longer confined by expectations and judgment. This was a gallery of their truths, a victory hard-fought. Later, as the evening wound down and she surveyed her gallery, a wave of fulfillment washed over her. People were talking, connecting with her art in profound ways, their souls awakened to the treatise on human experience she had painted. The idea of failing didn't haunt her anymore. Instead, she felt strong and validated. By facing adversity, she had shattered the chains of doubt and emerged as an artist propelled by genuine self-expression rather than conformity. The transformation was profound, marking the arrival of a new chapter. Shaped by purpose and authenticity, with a final glance at the vibrant tapestry of her work, Mia turned to Greg, her heart swelling with gratitude and pride. "Thank you for being part of this journey," she said sincerely. "Your support pushed me to confront my truth." "Together we have challenged our limits, Mia," he replied, the weight of mutual respect and understanding grounding their exchange. "Let us continue sharing our stories." With the weight of the past behind her and a bright future ahead, Mia stepped into the light of a new dawn, a self-assured creator, an artist unapologetically exposing her truth, ready to inspire others with their own narratives. This was her personal achievement, an authentic embrace of self-worth and artistic vision that would resonate far beyond the walls of this gallery. Now, as we wrap up this transformational journey, remember, you need to subscribe now to catch exclusive emotional stories that will inspire all of us to push through. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure these powerful messages reach those who truly need them. Make a difference by commenting your reactions and theories about this ending. Your engagement matters. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, let's uplift our stories and triumph over doubts.